Alright. So, Osio Nigada Taladu Dakutoa. Hello, everybody. My name is Dr. James Wagnon. Everybody just calls me JJ. Please call me JJ, Dr. JJ. I'm the Senior Program Officer for Scholarships and Internships. That's my role for AISES. And yeah, I'm happy to be here with all of you. I don't know if Anita, you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Anita Pasatopa, and I'm the Student Success Program Manager at ACES. And I assist Dr. Wagman in anything he asks me to do in support of anyone applying for scholarships. And I'm happy to be here.
So, yes, this entire thing that we've been doing has just been a webinar for you guys. We've done a series throughout where we've talked about applications. Last week we talked about how to make a strong essay, what the funders are looking for. So if you missed those, you missed some really good content. No, I'm just kidding. But today we're going to do the scholarship walkthrough. So this is more so how do you put all of it together when we're talking about those documents and things like that. So if you have access to your computer or if you're on your computer right now, I would highly, highly, highly recommend that you just follow along. Um, we didn't want to create a presentation just because one, I'm not gonna lie, it gets really boring doing presentations all day, every day. You guys are all in between class and work and life, and you don't need more things to look at and do all that stuff. So that's one reason. And then two, this part of the process, the scholarship process, is a little bit more interactive. And my background, and Anita will tell you, I'm one of those people where I'm like, you see one, you do one, because I think that's the best way to learn. You learn by doing, that experiential learning. And so tonight, that's really what it's going to be. So if you have your computer, I would highly encourage you just to follow along. If you don't, no worries. This is being recorded, and we can always share this as a resource. So, first things first. Can everybody see my screen here? I think I'm sharing my screen.
Yes, I can see it. I can see it on my
Okay,
end.
perfect. Okay, so the first thing I need you guys to do is you're just going to go into the ACES scholarship. You can put it in any browser. We're typically well, we should be the only hit that comes across on the website, and you'll pull up this page. This is the scholarship page. I'm going to put this in the chat as well. So this will take you to our current opportunities that we have. And here you'll see all the things that we had talked about in this series. So, if you were curious about, what Google's got going on, the amounts, the student levels, your eligibility, the GPA. What's great about Google, and for everyone here, as long as you're in STEM, they will fund any STEM field and then tells you a little bit about them. And this is for all 12 opportunities. So again, if you wouldn't want to sit here and go through every single one, just kind of look at the requirements, GPA, what they're looking at. This is where you're going to find that information. So that's step one. And I'm going to stress this till I'm blue in the face. April 30th is the absolute final day to submit everything. I think I had shared this at the last webinar, but the moment I put in the day and time on the Oasis portal, it is what it is. I don't get to handle it after that. And I think the Oasis portal goes off of the Eastern Coast. So keep that in mind if you're gonna wait till the very last minute. I don't recommend that, but if you do, 11:59 Eastern time is when it will. And also, if you need any review, this would be a great place to look at the requirements, right? So, for example, we require all of our scholarship applicants and recipients to be ACES members. We want to make sure that we're serving our ACES community. And so that's really, I think, one of the top requirements, and ensure that you're enrolled at the college or university, tribal affiliation, because we're serving our indigenous communities. And then you'll see the timeline here that we've been covering, that the scholarships were open on the 15th and they'll close on the 30th. You have a week after that to get your letters of rec. And remember, you need two different letters of rec for your scholarships. And then yeah, here's the application requirements and things like that. And we had covered these, so that was like your transcripts, your proof of tribal affiliation, and getting those essays ready. So that's this page. Now, here's where we all need to lock in and get busy. So on the apply today, you'll click this, and it's going to take you to this website. It says Access Oasis. So I'm sure you don't want to spend all day every day on these to decide which ones you qualify for or what the requirements are. So the best and easiest way to do this is just to go to that, do the apply today because this links your eligibility to these fields. If you already have an account, great, you can go ahead and sign in and do it to it. If you don't, you'll have to sign up and create an account. And it's pretty straightforward. That's what I said. Everything we're doing on here, I'm just showing you and walking you through because it's pretty straightforward. Okay. Once it loads, it will have you create a profile. Now the profile is just going to be your basic information. So first name, your last name, your birthday, how you identify as. So it'll have a section for the gender identity, your email. I'm going to pause right here real quick. Your email is probably one of the most important ways we're going to have to contact you and keep you updated on the application status, and as well as post following that. I'm sure Anita can attest to this. There are a couple times we have students who we're unable to get in contact with or we have difficulty with. So please ensure that we have a good contact email on you for file. Especially again, if you get noticed, that you were awarded, you're going to need those moving forward. And then just some contact information. I just threw in some stuff in here, obviously. I totally live at 1234 South ACES Street. Just threw in some stuff. Here's where we're going to request numbers because we do text our students, tribal affiliation, and right here. So when you get to, oh, excuse me, right here, when you get to this area, this is what the eligibility field is being linked to. So where you're attending, your major, the year you're graduating, and your level. Those are the things that are helping us with the eligibility requirements. So again, institution, major, when you're graduating, and the year you will be when you go. This, because we're in collaboration with Cobell, this just gets linked with Cobell, but yes. And then you'll upload that and submit that. So that's pretty straightforward. That's just, again, your applicant profile, nothing super crazy, right? Here is where I think people get a little confused. It's the navigating the eligibility portal. If you need help, we have a video here, but all that's going to do is take you here. So remember how I said that major, the institution, and things like that? This is where that eligibility is being pulled from. So again, that GPA, when we talk about what's considered competitive, what degree type you're going for, what's your major. Does this make sense so far? I know. Oh,
Yeah,
someone's,
is everyone else having that issue or can everyone see the screen?
I can see the screen.
I can see it too.
Okay. Anna, I suggest maybe you log off and log back in to the Zoom meeting.
Okay, I'll try that.
Okay, I'm so sorry.
probably Wi-Fi or the internet's like, okay, so, but everyone else can hear me and see me and all the things though.
Yes.
Okay. So Yeah, so that eligibility form, again, that is just what's pulling that major, that institution, and all those things. This is what is showing us what you're eligible for on this page. So once you create the profile, and again, pretty straightforward, just getting that background information, it's the eligibility form. This is what's being linked to all the other stuff that's giving you access essentially to those scholarships. Now, the process is not perfect because sometimes we'll have areas or disciplines that the system doesn't recognize as STEM. So we on our side will have to go in and physically add you guys or manually add you guys, and that's fine. So, you would just be able to contact one of us. We'd get you set up. That's no big deal. But otherwise, it's basing it off of your major and your GPA, really is what it's coming down to. And so here, like it says, once you fill out the eligibility, it may take up to 10 minutes. For some people, it's immediate. For some, it's 30 seconds. You guys have to understand we're managing over 41,000 profiles on this thing. So it can take a minute for it to come up, but once it does, you're usually pretty good. Oh, hold on. Let me admit Anna here. Hi, Anna, are you able to see my screen now? Hopefully.
Yes, I can see it now.
Perfect. Okay. I was just talking about completing the eligibility. Just make sure that you have that background information. Again, it's pretty simple. So once you have that, this screen right here that we're on will refresh, and then you get access to the scholarships and applications. Here is where all those opportunities that we had talked about get linked. So you have some information. If you're wanting to apply for Cobell side, they have that information. Obviously, for us, you have my email. Um, there's some of their opportunities. Highly recommend doing that just in case you apply. Are eligible and can apply for them. So we did computer science. Again, that was just a major I had chose because it's one that comes across a lot. So here are all of the major or the scholarships that I can apply for. I get a lot of emails about this one, so you guys just ignore this. That's just really filler space. All the ones that are in blue, though, that you can click on that have that link, these are all the scholarships that you would be applicable, that you can be eligible for, that you can apply. And they're all pretty much set up the same. So, for example, if we did, let's say, Google, right, it's going to take you to this. We already created the profile, so you would just have to sign in as that. There's a lot of portals, but it's all linked. See, there's that profile that I was talking about earlier. And you would come down here and you'd be able to, yeah, continue with the application. Gives you a little bit of a background, how much the amount, and these are some of the things that we had covered. The reference, where you'd be able to, remember, you need two. So you would just add the new request to get your letter of rec. You can send up to notifications 24 hours in a day, once every 24 hours. But this is where you would go to check the status of if your recommender has done their part or not. Yep, you would just do the reference name, the email. It's going to save it as untitled until the system recognizes you, but otherwise, yeah, I mean, pretty standard, just need to. You can, and we had this discussion during the webinars, you can use those across the board. So if you're using the same letter of rec for Google, you can use those same ones for ATA or any of the other scholarships. Our advice was to either keep the letter of rec generalized, that your person who's writing the letter of recommendation for you keeps it generalized to where it can be used across the board. Otherwise, you'd be going back and forth asking for specifics like, hey, can you address this to Google? Hey, can you address this to ATA? So on and so forth. So I think keep it generalized. And then the actual application, right? So you're marked as eligible because we went through the eligibility process. And this is all the information that we keep on our end, just it just helps us out. So for example, like the membership, like I said, that's why we ensure that you are a member. If you go back to the website, that's why this is on the checklist here, just to make sure you're following those. Your ID, if you're unsure about your ID, we have the page here that you can log in to get that because it's gonna need your YM, so your membership ID. And again, just a little bit of background information, like how long have you been with ACES, you know? This just helps us on our end to know how to help with outreach. Because for a lot of us, right, I see a lot of people for national conference. We see a lot of people who have been previous scholarship recipients. It's just a lot of background information, just because we want to be able to continue our outreach and look for areas where we can strengthen. Pretty standard, I think, so far. Again, back to, citizenship status, what's your area, your major, ethnicity, and then here is where you would start. So I think this was like the first webinar that we did, but this is where you would start uploading that resume, those essays we had covered, needing the intro, the body, the conclusion. Here are the prompts that are pretty similar across the board about your personal statements and your backgrounds and what are you involved in as far as like cultural components and those things. What even, stimulated your interest in your chosen major? Why did you get involved in STEM? All of those are like what we had shared last week. All those would be answered here. And it's 300 words or less, which is not a lot of space, but these are pretty much the questions across the board. The only differences I think I can share with like maybe Rise, because it's more focused on casino gaming. There's a question in there about, why do you want to go into casino gaming? But otherwise, these questions that you see right here are pretty much, yeah, what it is across the board. And then, of course, where you would upload your tribal citizenship verification. Remember, you need to be descended or enrolled so you can be state recognized, federally recognized. We just need something that shows descendancy because, again, we're here to serve Indigenous students in STEM. Transcripts, if you are undergrad or grad, they can be unofficial and then or official, but I know it's easier to attain and doesn't cost anything to do PDF for transcripts. And then if you're in high school, because I know for IPEF, which would be this scholarship right here, I know rising freshmen, you can use your high school transcript because when you do the renewal, we'll get your college one at that point. And I mean, it's it's pretty straightforward after that. So after you submit for that one, right, you would just let's go back to the acts. If you finish that, I would say, okay, let's do ARDC. Oh, yes, Olivia.
Just for the descendancy thing, I'm from Canada, or my descendancy is from Canada. Um, do I just give you guys like a copy of my status card or
Yes, yeah.
okay,
That
okay, thanks.
anything. Yep. Good question. Yes, anything that would just help us know and denote that. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, it's really the same, like I said, same across the board. So we would just go back to that access page. So let's say we finished Google and now it's like, okay, well, I want to do ARDCs, same thing, right? You just come down here and it gives you a little bit of information on the background of the scholarship back to that reference request. Again, you can ask the same people if you have a copy, you can upload on their behalf or whatever it is, as long as you have two. But pretty much the same process with the ARDC. Again, with the eligibility, back to the membership, participation. How did you hear about ACES? This just helps us, again, with the outreach and to understand where our students that we're serving are coming from. Back to the resume, essays, tribal verification, transcript. There's different portals for every single one. And so when you do renewals, what I would love for the Oasis portal is if we could link it all and just do it once, and that'd be great. But because they're different opportunities and the funders, our partners have different asks and requests and are looking for different, variations amongst the scholarship opportunities, we kind of have to tweak here and there. So honestly, my best advice if I were starting this today after creating my profile, um, would be to open a Google Docs, and I honestly would just start because you already know you're gonna need to pull your resume. You already know you're gonna have to pull, the transcripts, those little nitty-gritty things. But it would be back to those essays, um, right? Putting it in a Google Doc and then just working on those to get those edits. Again, back to the intro, back to the supporting body paragraphs, like we had said, show your examples and then to weave it to make sure that it's making sense. But otherwise, it's they're very similar, and after you submitted ARDC, oh,
Oh,
I didn't know if Carol had a question. But it'd be the same across the board. Let's say you finished ARDC and then you're like, I want to go do Rise. You click back on Rise, log in, and it's the same process. Rinse, and repeat. Again, more information on the back. Go back to the references, do your application.
I'm so sorry. I didn't want to interrupt, but I just have a quick question.
Yeah.
If if you already asked teachers for letters of recommendation, is it okay if they turn in their letter before you submit your application?
Yes. So the letters of rec aren't due until May 7th. So even if you did it before or after, the system's going to recognize it either way. So yeah, you can do it way before or you can do it even after, just as long as it's in before that May 7th deadline.
Okay, thank you. And then
Mhm.
I was wondering about the space that said additional comments. What would be something that
Great
would go there?
question. Yes. So last week we had talked about, we made the point that your application is going to be looked at holistically. Again, I know, right, when you first fill out that eligibility, that, like I said, that major in GPA is really what is going to be linked. But let's say you have a GPA that might be lower than quote unquote the standard. That additional comment space that you're referring to, Carol, would be a great place to explain to the reviewers, like, hey, I was balancing a full-time job or a part-time job while I'm, doing this, and my grades may or may not be meeting that standard, but it's pretty much your chance to explain whatever you feel you got to add that wasn't covered in the application space. I've seen students just use it sometimes to express gratitude, or maybe they're just thankful for the opportunity. I've seen students, who maybe they just didn't have a good semester, use it as a space to explain, why a GPA might be a little bit lower or a gap in a resume or what have you. It's really just a space for you to explain anything to the scholarship committee and the reviewers about your application. If you feel like you need to bolster it, so to speak, to be a little bit stronger and explain, that's what the space for. If you just, yeah, want to express gratitude and just thank them for their time or whatever, that's really just your opportunity. It's an additive. So. I guess my first question is that making sense to everybody about the accessing and the creating the profile? Because remember, it's all coming back from the scholarship page. We do that apply today. You should, if you don't, you can do the create the profile. You'll have to, right? And then walk through the eligibility. And like I said, the eligibility is just that background information. So, what degree are you going for? What's your GPA looking like? Yeah, what's your major? We wait about 10 minutes, 30 seconds. Time really ranges there. And then you'll get linked here to the scholarship opportunities. And then, yeah, ours are any that are listed under the blue.
I had a quick question.
Yes.
On each scholarship, the essay prompts. So
Mhm.
when you apply for one and then you're gonna go back or move on and apply for another one, do those essay prompts, your answers move over, or do you need to like copy and paste them somewhere and save them?
It'll definitely be a
Yeah.
copy and paste. Yeah, no, it'll
Okay,
definitely
that's
be a
what I was
copy and
wondering,
paste.
what you
Um,
recommend to applicants for that.
I would say, yeah, and I would say put it on a Word document or save it on that Google Doc because if they're not specifying, so let's say we're applying to ATA, if ATA it's the same prompts that Google's asking for, you can repurpose your responses, especially if you
Exactly.
went.
Right.
Yep, if you went through that process of editing, getting feedback, making them solid, just repurpose it. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. Um, they're all going to be scored anyway twice by our reviewers, and we take the average of those scores. They get a rubric on, what funders are looking for. So yes, and you'll have access. So if you had submitted for ATA, you'll have access to the application. So even if, you don't have Microsoft Word or you don't have Google Docs, you can still go back and highlight and copy until April 30th. Once that hits, you
Yep.
you won't, yeah, you won't have access to those. So highly recommend putting everything that you're writing, editing in a Word document. Is that making sense to everybody? Are there any other questions? We're here for you, so let me know if I got to clarify anything.
I have a
Um,
question. Oh,
Yes.
um, it's about one of the scholarship prompts. I wasn't there for like the last meeting that y'all had last week. So I was kind of wanting a little bit of direction on the scholarship prompt. What activity or activities most clearly reflect your character? Um, I think it's on the Anderson scholarship.
Great question. Yeah, I mean, Anita, if you want to refresh my mind, sorry. Um, I believe we had said, oh, go ahead, sorry.
Oh, no, can you go to that essay prompt? Can you get there and see what
Yeah,
that question exactly is asking?
what activity or activities, cultural, community related, occupational, must clearly reflect your character. Please describe your participation. Why is this participation in this activity or activities important to you?
Yes. So I think like the reviewers, they kind of want to know the person you are as a whole, not just academically. So like your extracurricular activities, your spare time, if you have any of that. What is it that you enjoy doing? And they kind of give you, whether it's just like, oh, I don't know, you could say CrossFit, or you could say running, and if it's, you know, culturally connected, community related, or if you already have, a career, what is that and what about it is enjoyable to you and is a part of you and makes you you. And do that in 300 words or less.
And to add to that,
Yeah.
yes, absolutely. And I think, Anita's what we were hitting on last week is, show that. And the point we had made is, it can be cultural, community, in any aspect, even at work,
Hmm.
right?
Oh,
Leadership,
yeah.
show that leadership, show that determination. What are those stories? We had talked last week about everyone has a story. And So I think all those examples that they're asking for as far as like activities is just us understanding that not every student's going to be heavily involved in a student org just because, like Anita said, if you don't have the time because you're busy with XYZ, um, maybe it's at work, but it's going to look different for everybody. Does that answer your question, Darian?
Yeah, it does. So this can extend just to like hobbies,
Yeah,
right?
It
Okay.
absolutely
absolutely.
can, yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. That is an easier time for me because I'm not as involved in the community as I used to when I was an undergrad.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And then I would just emphasize though again that showing why those hobbies, what is it about those hobbies that draw out that character. It's just another it's just a question of another way to get to know you. That's all it is.
Awesome. Thank you
Does
all.
Mhm. Does anyone else have any questions? Anything else? Yes, Olivia.
Sorry, I always have a question. So, you said that in the profile, when we drop down and we choose our major, that sometimes they don't look like a STEM major, and that you guys need to go in. Um, do we just like email you, or how do we let you know? My major is oceanography, and it never pops up anywhere.
Yes. And sometimes that's a great point too. So that is my personal email. And again, I help run the scholarships and internships. So everyone here, please don't ever feel like you're bothering me. I do get pulled a lot to meetings, but we're just constantly working as a team to make stuff happen. But yes, I'm usually good about responding within a day or two if you email me. And to answer your question, Olivia, there should be a section, let me see, on the profile that if you don't see your major listed, you can add. Yeah, right here. So the area of study, or there used to be, it's not generating a list. And it's a pretty extensive list. As you can tell, it's loading. But there will be a little plus sign. It might be at the very bottom. We'd have to bump that up. But if not, again, you can email me, you can email Anita. Just let us know, send us a message being like, because I know that's also another problem because right? We can't cover everybody's extensive area of study, but if you let us know or gives a heads up, we can make a note on there for reviewers. So we try. It's not a perfect system, but we definitely try to work with the Oasis portal. But yeah, just message us and we can get it to oceanography or whatever it is that you're wanting the specific on. I think the point is, as long as we get you connected to these opportunities that you absolutely qualify for, then if you're happy, we're happy. So, does that answer your question, Olivia?
Yeah, you're amazing. Thank you.
Okay. Does anyone else have any other questions? And even if you don't think of anything now, again, you have our emails. I don't, and I think we said this last week. We don't want you stressing. We know you're super busy with everything else you got going on, so I don't want you to feel like, you know, this is impossible. So don't count yourself out before you giving yourself a chance. Because it is, it's a lot, right? I mean, you got school, you got life, you got everything else going on, and we're asking you in 500 words or less for each thing to write. But I think it's also those opportunities that we want to make sure you guys, right, get. So, yeah, I don't I don't really have anything else to be honest with you guys as far as this goes because it's really just a simple, again, start here at the scholarship page. and do that apply today, create that profile, just background information, and apply from there. Put all those tools and things that we had talked about together. One thing I do want to mention though, before we all disperse. So if you do find yourself having any questions, we haven't launched this yet. Um, but this is our link to our Zoom that we're hosting for every Friday. So our team, Anita, Crystal, Johnny, and I will be available every Friday. So the deadline's coming up, April 30th. I don't know if I stressed that enough, but that's coming up. And we know, like I said, things are going to come up, whether it's your application, whether you're needing someone to review an essay. This is the part where we're going to start putting all those things together. But we're going to be available every Friday in April from 1 to 5. So one of us will be on the Zoom, and all you have to do is hop on if you have a question, a concern, if you want to vent, if you're worried about anything, whatever. Um, we're here for you. So all you would have to do, yeah, click on that link again, 1 to 5. You can choose any of the Fridays. We intentionally did that because, again, the deadline is April 30th. So please, please, please make sure you take note of that. And it'll be simple. So first, last name, and your email, and then you'll get the link to any of these sessions. And it's again, you can use these however you're wanting. If you're wanting us to check your application, if you need a review on the Access Oasis portal, um, or if you just need feedback or to listen, or I don't know, whatever you're needing. That's what we're here for. So I just wanted to share that with you guys as well. I don't know if you want to add anything, Anita, or
No, I think that was great. That was a step-by-step walkthrough of how to apply for all of these scholarships. And you guys had really great questions. Those were really great questions for clarification.
and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention this, and I'd be kicking myself. Next week, we are going to have two of our scholars who've gotten a lot of these scholarships, as well as two of our reviewers who have reviewed for ACES for years. And they're going to be on next week on Zoom, and we're going to have a panel with them. So if you have any questions or you just need tips or advice, that would be a great session for you to attend if you're able, because yeah, they'll be providing their insights, things that worked for them, things they would have tweaked, all those things. So I would highly encourage you to come to all of it, but definitely next week because they're gonna have some great insights. So anything else? How are we feeling? What are we thinking? Yes, yeah, Carol, it'll be next Wednesday at 6, from 6 to 7. Are we feeling okay? Are we thinking all right? Where are we at?
I'm feeling good. I mean, I just need to start writing on a couple of them. I do have some of them already finished, but
Good.
I'm okay.
On it. Love it. Absolutely.
I'm feeling the pressure, but you guys are helping so much. So thank you. Not just for these scholarships, but I had a midnight deadline 2 days ago, and I listened to everything you told me at the last meeting, which helped immensely. So thank you.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I don't know, so there's a lot of you, and like Anita and all of us, we all try our very best, and everyone gets busy, so we always hope that we're, helping you guys and in any way we can. So I'm happy to hear that that helped. And definitely, Olivia, take advantage of all of it, but definitely April. So again, if there's any last minute things that you need to ask or anything, insights we can give you, definitely come to one of those sessions and we'll be able to help you. But also, you have our email, so just email us as well. All right. Anybody else? Well, we have some time, so I'm gonna stop recording.